Greetings, this is Sean, and today I'm going to show you how I make this glowing crystal, which will be mounted above the wall desk that I made last week. Anyway, the light is provided by this. It's called an addressable LED, and it's also known as a Neopixel, although this isn't the official Neopixel, but that's what you may see it called. I put a link to a lot of the props and tools and things that I use, such as this. Some affiliate links to Amazon. So if you wanted to try and create this, you'd be able to, go to those links. And of course, being an affiliate, I would get a portion of anything that you purchase if you use those links. So that would help out greatly if you don't mind. But anyway. What that is you can see there it says D in, D out. That's for data, and this will get hooked up to an Arduino later on, which I can control the color of it using that. And here I've got a 12-inch piece of copper wire, and I'm using 4 of them. The red one's for positive power, the black one's for ground, and the 2 white ones I will use for the data in and out, like you saw there. And you'll see a close-up of it here. And here I've got a pair of wire strippers, and it works by really well. I really like the way these things work. I got these at Lowe's, but I'm sure you can find them online as well. Again, I'll find the link and put it below. And all you do is you put that in. The left side there holds the wire, and the right side strips the coating off, and works really great. You can actually have it's self-adjusting, and you can, that little yellow part there that you see there, you can set how long you want it to be, so you can get a consistent length of wire being stripped off. It's pretty handy. And there's some solder there, and I have a new soldering iron that I'm using, which I'm actually borrowing this from work because my soldering iron's crapped out on me. So anyway, all I'm doing is I'm putting a little bit of solder, which it's got some a rosin core or a flux already built into it, and I'm just tinning the ends of those wires there is what I'm doing, so they'll be easier to solder onto the LED later on. So now all it is, it's a matter of course I've made that too long, so I'm going to cut that off here with a pair of wire cutters. And on these LEDs, the top part of it where I'm going to solder this wire, the 2 connections that are there at the top are actually together, so you can actually link these together and one to the next. And but I'm not going to be using the ground and the power, which are the top and the bottom ones, so I'm only putting 1 wire there. But I am going to add the 2 white wires for the data in and data out, so that I can string these together with some more lights that I'm going to be using later on. And I'm just, like, as you can tell, I'm just speeding through all of this, and sorry about it being out of focus. I forgot to turn off the autofocus on my camera. So anyway, that's how I'm soldering those together. And I'll zoom in so you can see how well I did. I actually messed up a little bit on the one on the right hand side. It wasn't soldered very well, but I off camera I fixed that. So I'm just giving it a tug to make sure that nothing comes off. Now here what I'm going to do is those molds that you see there in the middle are some molds of crystals that I made. And I've already made a video once before, which I'll put a link up above to how I make the molds for this. And I'm just using a 2-part casting resin, Amazing Clear Cast. This stuff stinks. I highly recommend, if you find a different one, or if you don't mind the stink, this is fine, but it has a really weird smell to it. So If you do use it in a well-ventilated room, or at least have a fan that's blowing it away from you or something like that. But anyway, I'm putting part A on one side in one cup, and I'll put part B in another cup. And this is done by volume, not by weight. So just a 1-to-1 ratio, as you can see there on the bottle. Yeah, the smell, it smells like a really bad dusty room. It's just, I don't know, it's really, really hard to smell. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I will, I got to get the other side done. I'm getting a paper towel, and I keep bumping the camera. Sorry about that. I do that several times. I was getting a paper towel to wipe the end of it off and wipe my hands off later on. So anyway, here's part B going into the other cup. And I'm not overly concerned about bubbles. And I'll show you later on one of the crystals that I actually used to make the mold in the center there. It actually has bubbles in it. So I'm really not concerned about bubbles, happening on this. So I did spray some mold release on the inside of this, which does help quite a bit. And here what I'm doing is I'm taking that LED, and I've also already made 3 more of these, but fitting the LED inside of there because I want that to be inside the crystal. And then I'm placing the whole mold in the cup to hold those wires so they don't move while it's curing. And I found that to be very helpful. Now, the one that's on the right there that you see, when I made that one, I had put the crystal in the cup and then poured the mold casting over it, so I won't be able to do that with that one, so I have to do something different with it. But anyway, I just wrap that around there to hold it tight so it stays down, basically. It doesn't have to be that far in. So anyway, here I'm just going to mix the 2 parts of the epoxy together. And there was a hair that got inside of it. That's what you saw me pull out of there. And just have to stir it for a couple of minutes. And then what I do is, since there's some left of the part A left in that cup, I pour it back in there, stir it up a little bit more, just to make sure that I get all of it together, all of it incorporated. And then I pour it back. And yeah, I made a lot more than what I really needed, but and I don't show it on camera, but I did end up using the rest of this to make some little gemstones and other things with. I didn't let it go to waste. So here I'm just real slowly pouring the epoxy into the mold over the LED and just making sure it fits. Tap it a little bit just to make sure that all the bubbles start to come up. Now I let this sit for about 24 hours, which is the cure time for it. And we'll see when I come back. Okay, here it is 24 hours later. The thing you see up in the yellow, or the yellow part that you see up in the top right corner, that was another one that I had made. I just forgot to take that off the table when I got done. But it's just a small crystal as well. And so I just pull the separate it a little bit and it comes right off. Now it is a little bit hazy, but that mold there is old, and I don't think I put enough mold release into that one, which is fine. Crystals can be hazy. They can be, you'll see here in a little bit. I'll show you I compare it with this one here. You'll see. Here I'm just going to take it off, and then I'll grab the crystal that I used to make this mold to show you the difference in how they look. There's the crystal that I actually used to make that crystal there. So it turned out okay. I may end up redoing these, but for the purposes that they're going to be used in the Dollhouse escape room, these will be just fine. And as you can see, the inside's kind of cloudy, and it's kind of, it does have a few bubbles. Didn't get close enough for you to see the bubbles, but there are, a few little bubbles in there. That one is the one I put a little bit too much. You can see it kind of spilled over a little bit, which it ended up breaking off, which is fine. I'm not going to do anything more to these as far as, finishing them or polishing the crystals anymore, because I kind of like the hazy look to it. So anyway, okay. So that's how I made the crystals. I actually have to make one more, but I only have these 3 molds at the moment. Now what I'm going to do is, this one here, I'm going to take the copper foil that you see there, and I'm going to wrap it around the base, because this one's actually going to get mounted to the wall. All of the other crystals are going to be sitting on the floor, and they'll be, hidden, and the bases will be hidden, so I'm not really worried about this. But this one's going to be actually mounted on the wall above that desk lamp, or wall desk that I made last week. And so I'm going to wrap it in copper just to make it look nicer and to hide the light a little bit better. So I just took a piece of copper wire here and wrapped it around the base as you saw me do. And I'm just going to cut off the little tag end there. And then I'm just going to measure the length of it, because I'm going to cut that length out of the copper foil that's there. And I'm using metric again this week, so this one's just a little bit over 5 centimeters long is what it ends up being. It's like 51 or 52 millimeters roughly. So now what I'm going to do is cut that out of this piece of copper. Now I'm looking at this copper foil that I've got here, which is a scrap piece from something else I've done, and I'm just going to square off this edge right here. So I take the bottom of it and I put it right up against that line, and then I'm going to measure down with the ruler and make it square. Well, relatively square anyway. So I'm looking for my pencil. There it is. And so I'm just going to Make a line across there. And take my wonderful pair of scissors that I have and just trim that along that line. That's relatively straight. A little bit of a curve there where I had to recut. Keep bumping the camera. Sorry. So anyway, so now I'm just going to measure up the 5 centimeters. Actually, I think I end up going to about 5.5 centimeters or 55 millimeters up, just to make it a little bit longer, just to make sure I have enough. And I'll make a mark there. You can see there that it's about 2.25 inches long, roughly. So now I'm just going to trim off that edge right there. Making sure it's nice and square, which is for the most part square enough. So now I'm just going to determine how wide I want to make the band that goes across there. Which you can kind of see there's a little line in the crystal where my thumb is covering. I thought maybe I'd go up to that line there. And I thought, well, I might as well make it a 1/2 inch. And I thought, no, that's too wide. And so I make a whole bunch of different marks here. And I thought, no, that's going to be way too wide. So I kind of go about 1/4 inch roughly, to where I'm just above where the LED is at in the crystal. So I'm going to that mark there. Although, when I get my ruler out, I thought, I'm just going to make it an even 1 centimeter. So we'll remark it at 1 centimeter since it's close enough and it's easy to get to. And so I'll make a mark there and then another mark on the other side. And then I'll just draw a line between there all the way across, and I'll cut that part off. And that'll be my band that goes across around the LED, or crystal. Just like that. Now what I'm going to do is just wrap that around I put the edge of it on one of the edges of the crystal. Technically it's a facet, but we'll call it a edge. And then just wind that around, making sure it's nice and straight and even with the bottom. Actually, I have it overlapping the bottom just a little bit. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the leftover piece and tuck it underneath so that that edge is right on the facet. Now I've got my cast iron skillet here that I've used many times before, with the two magnets to kind of help hold it in place while I do some soldering. But it kept squeezing that open and it wouldn't hold it closed very well. So what I decided to do, I was trying to bend that to where it would fit better, and it wouldn't fit right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these other two smaller ones and put them inside, but magnets attract and repel, and I had a hard time getting that to fit. And when I did, it was bouncing all around, so I just decided to get rid of the two that are on the skillet and use just the two that I've got holding the seam closed, like that. And that did exactly what I wanted it to do. Got it nice and closed really well there. Now I've got this solder paste that I've started using instead of the liquid stuff that I've used before, and because it works better. I think the paste does better than the liquid. And so I just get myself I'm getting a toothpick right now to apply the paste. Just a little dab will do ya. Anyway, just put a little bit right across the seam there to help the solder flow into that gap a little bit. And you know that magnets don't attract to copper, but they do attract to steel, obviously. And when I get ready to solder here, I should have held it. So it kind of startled me a little bit. So, and yeah, that copper got hot while I was holding it and soldering it. So I had to kind of let it cool down a little bit so that I could hold it a little bit longer and get a better solder on there. It wasn't quite soldered closed enough. So try it again. And no, I didn't burn my fingers, but it did get really hot. And that's all it takes right there. Now it's all soldered nice and pretty. And I didn't bother cleaning it up or filing it or polishing it. I want this to kind of look dirty and grungy and tossed together. As you'll see in the story that I'll be telling here in the next, I don't know. Probably by the end of the month I'll have a story that I'm going to share with you with this. So, anyway, now I just got to put it back on the crystal, and it was a nice, tight, snug fit, so I didn't even bother gluing it. I just pressed it down and made it fit really well. Nice and snug. Yeah, I was off a little bit, but like I say, it's alright. Supposed to look like it's just thrown together, which essentially it was. So what I'm going to do next is, it was loose in a few places, so let me get this out of the way real quick. What I do is I grab a little jeweler's hammer that I use for the metalworking that I do, and I kind of tap it to hit it to kind of make it conform a little bit better. Plus that edge there was sticking up, and I didn't want to scrape my finger on it or whatnot, so I do hit that a little bit just to kind of soften the edge a little bit, and I just try to make it tap to make it nice and flat against the crystal. Just gently. I don't want to break the resin, the crystal itself. But anyway, that is how I assembled this crystal LED, or glowing crystal desk lamp, wall lamp, which I'm about to show you what it looks like when it's all lit up too. Now, the Arduino that you're going to see me using is not the one that will be used in the actual dollhouse, but it's just one for demonstration purposes. So later on, I'll go over how I do the programming and whatnot in a different video. So anyway, that piece of foam there is to simulate the wall that it'll be sitting on. I just wanted to see how well it's going to sit up against the wall, which it actually looks pretty good. So, and I actually have it, I'm going to turn the lights off here in a minute, but I have it going between a couple different shades of blue to make it look like it's pulsing, which I wish it would focus a little bit better. I need to turn some more lights off. There we go. So now you can see it kind of pulsing a little bit better. So anyway, that's all for today. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And as always, have a better day, as I always say.